Vita Health Group provide this exercise class with your health and safety in mind. Each individual participant has their own limitations and should consult their general practitioner or an appropriate medical professional prior to undertaking the class. Should you be prone to injury, are currently pregnant, or be managing any functional limiting medical conditions, please seek medical confirmation prior to participating. At all times, ensure you follow all instructions provided by Vita Health Group throughout the entirety of the recording. Should you experience any symptoms of dizziness, nausea, or increased pain at any point during your participation, please stop and seek the appropriate advice from your general practitioner or the 111 service.
Hi everyone, my name's Josh and welcome to today's stretch and relaxation class. Today's session is going to be working on overall mobility and flexibility for all the major joints and muscle groups within the body. We'll get started in a few minutes. If you grab yourselves a bottle of water and just make sure you've got an exercise mat's worth of space laid out on the floor, and we'll get started shortly. Okay guys, so to begin this session, we're going to go through 6 exercises as part of a little bit of a warm up into it. We're going to begin with some neck rolls, which we're going to do for 30 seconds. And we're going to begin with one ear towards one shoulder. We're then going to roll the chin down towards the chest and the ear over towards the other shoulder. So begin 30 seconds of that in 3, 2, 1, and begin. So left ear towards left shoulder. Bringing the chin gently down towards the chest, rolling over towards the right side. We're then going to pause for a second here, roll that chin back towards the left, and hopefully as you go through these small rotations, beginning to relieve a little bit of tension that you might be carrying in the neck. So one more on each side. Done in 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so moving on to the next one, we're going to bring the hands down towards the sides. We're going to just press the shoulders a bit, and we're going to go with some shoulder circles. So we're going to go for 10 in total. What we're going to do is we're going to shrug the shoulders up, try and get those shoulders up towards the ears, rotate them back, and then bring them all the way down. Just a nice circular movement, shrugging those shoulders up, bringing them all the way back, and then coming back down. So on to number 3. Really emphasizing bringing the shoulders up towards the ears and then pulling them down as much as you can. Again, might find there's a little bit of tension there, but hopefully through those rotations you're beginning to loosen up. So we're just going to go for 2 more. Nice big rotation. 1 more. And relax in there. Okay, so for our next 4 exercises, we're going to be coming down to the floor. And we're going to come into what's called a cat-cow movement. So from here, what we want is hands underneath the shoulders. We want knees underneath the hips. This nice sort of tabletop position. And what we're going to do is go through 2 different movements. So from here, we're going to tuck the chin towards the chest. We're going to suck the belly button in and intentionally curve the back in one direction. We're going to hold this for a second, and then we're going to push the belly button down towards the floor, raising that chin, looking upwards towards the ceiling, and holding that bottom position. We're just going to do this for a total of 6 repetitions, and each time we're going to hold it for a few seconds at each point. So beginning our first movement as we come into that cat position, curving the back, tucking the chin, holding here, and then pushing the belly button down and coming into that cow position. And then bringing ourselves back into cat, and then coming back down, It can be really nice to get the breathing times well with this. So as we breathe out, as we come into our cat, and breathe in as we come into our cow. So 3 more. Last 2. And 1 more. Lovely stuff. Okay, so for our next one, I'm going to stay on all fours and we're going to work on a little bit more of a dynamic movement called thread the needle. So what this looks like is staying in the tabletop position as we've just been. We're going to thread our right arm to begin with to the underside of the body, leaning into the right side of the head. We're going to hold for a few seconds, and then we're going to rotate that arm all the way up, opening the right side of the chest and shoulder, looking towards that hand and holding that position at the top. So we're just going to work through 5 repetitions on each side, and we're going to begin with that right side. So first things first, right arm threads underneath, holding at this bottom position for a few seconds, and then rotating all the way up towards the ceiling and holding there. And beginning our second repetition, and then coming all the way back up. Again, it can be really nice to get the breathing involved with this one. So as we begin to rotate all the way up, take a nice big breath in, and then as we thread that arm back through, breathing out. 2 more. And coming all the way back through. And last one. And breathing out. Lovely stuff. Okay, so moving on to the left side, exactly the same thing. So this time threading the left arm through to the right side of the body, leaning into the left side of the head, holding that bottom position, and then bringing that arm all the way up towards the ceiling, pausing for a moment and looking towards that hand. And then again, coming through for a second time, and rotating back up, and then bringing the breathing in to our last few repetitions. So as we rotate up, big breath in, and then as we thread through, breathing back out. Last 2. And breathing out. 1 more, guys, we're nearly done. And relaxing there. Okay, guys, so just a couple more on the floor. What we're going to do next is move on to some hip circles and some hip rotations. So we can keep the same tabletop position, and all we're going to do, 1 leg at a time, is go through some gentle rotations with working the hips. So from here, we're just going to bring our right leg out to the side, we're going to rotate it backwards, and then we're going to bring the knee down towards the floor. Okay, we're then going to reverse that movement, bringing that knee up, rotating it out to the side, and coming all the way back down to the floor. Right, so very small movement, but really nice one that can work on some specific hip mobility. So we're going to go for 5 reps on each side. So first things first, right leg comes out, bringing that knee back, and down to the floor, bringing it all the way up, rotating to the side and down to the floor. Okay, so 4 more like that. Knee comes out, all the way back and down. Knee comes up, rotate to the side and then back down. Nice. Number 3. Two more. Last one. And relax in there. So exactly the same thing moving on to the left side. So again, stabilizing in that tabletop position and beginning with bringing that left knee out to the side, rotating that hip round and knee comes down to the floor. And then reversing, knee comes up, hip to the side and back down. Nice. 4 more. Nice. Last 3. Two more, nearly done. And 1 more to finish. And relax in there. Okay, so moving on to our last exercise. With this one, it's just going to be a static stretch, specifically working on ankle mobility and holding flex and extended positions. So all we're going to do is bring ourselves to a gentle kneeling position. But what we're going to do with the toes is we're going to point them directly backwards. So we've got this nice stretch to the top of the ankle here. Now, very gently, we're going to sit our body weight back onto the heels and just come to whatever position is comfortable for you to hold. If at any point it gets too intense, you can just ease the weight off by coming forwards onto the hands. But if you do want to increase it, then you can just sit a little bit more upright, and that's going to increase that stretch to the ankles. So we're going to go for a 30 second hold on this one. So in position, we go in 3, 2, 1, and just hold in here. So it's great about this stretch is you're literally just using your own body weight and sitting to get the benefit to that ankle stretch that we need. So 20 more seconds here. If you want to increase, you can just shift your weight a little bit further back, applying more pressure onto that ankle stretch here. Last 10 seconds. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so let's bring ourselves forwards onto the hands. After this one, it can be quite nice to just give the ankles a little bit of a rotation, just one way, and then come in the other way. So we're going to do a very similar stretch, just for the ankles in a different position. So now, rather than having the toes pointed, we're going to have them tucked. Okay, so we're going to tuck the toes here, and the same principle applies, shifting our weight back onto the feet, onto the heels, and beginning to get a stretch into the back of the ankles here, possibly a little bit towards the soles of the feet as well. So again, 30 seconds to hold. in 3, 2, 1, and begin. So as with the last one, if it does get too much, you can just shift your body weight forwards. That will relieve some of the pressure off. Or if you do want to increase it, just lean a little bit further back to apply a bit more pressure. So last 10 seconds. Keep holding for 3, 2, 1. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the first section. We're going to take a little break now, and then we're going to move on to our second section, which is going to be a little bit more dynamic and increasing the time of which we're holding and stretching. So take 20-30 seconds, grab some water if you want to, and we'll get ready for our second section shortly. Okay guys, so for this next section, we're going to go through a bit more of a dynamic flow, and there's a few different movements that we're going to go through. So I'm going to demo each one first, and then we'll go through the flow once, have a little break, and then go through it a second time. So to begin with, we're going to start with some spinal roll downs into a ragdoll hold. So what this is going to look like, we're going to tuck the chin towards the chest. We're going to allow the shoulders to rotate forwards. We're going to then slowly rotate down all the way to the floor, and you should feel a good stretch towards the back of the legs of the hamstrings, also a little bit in the lower back as well. We're then going to hug the hands over the elbows, and we're just going to hold this bottom position for a 30-second count. So that'll be our first movement. All right, so we'll get that one done, and then we're going to move into the dynamic flow. So this is literally just going to be a 30-second ragdoll hold. All right, so beginning in 3, 2, 1, and holding. So chin towards the chest, rolling those shoulders forwards, allowing ourselves to go down vertebrae by vertebrae towards the floor. And then once we get to that bottom position, opposite hand to opposite elbow, and just hanging at that bottom position. So 20 more seconds. In this position, just make sure you've got a soft bend in the knees at all times, rather than straight knees locked out. This one can be quite nice to just gently rotate round. Just gently shifting the weight for our last 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So relaxing the arms and then reversing that movement nice and easy up towards the top, bringing ourselves back up to a full standing position, shoulders back, head back up to normal. Okay, so we're going to do that one more time and then move on to our second exercise. So tucking that chin to begin with in 3, 2, 1, and start. So tuck the chin to the chest, roll the shoulders forwards, and then allowing ourselves to come down towards the floor. And hopefully this time should feel a little bit looser. Maybe you can get a little bit lower. Once you get to that bottom position, your hamstrings will let you know when that is. Grabbing those elbows and then just holding that ragdoll at the bottom. Again, option to rotate from left to right, nice and gently. Last 10 seconds. Three, 2, and 1. Okay, relaxing the arms there, and then bringing ourselves back up to that standing position. Might get a little bit of clicking bit of crunching in the back as you rotate everything back up. Totally normal, all good, just means the spine's moving as we want it to. So we're going to move down to the floor for our next 3 exercises, and we're going to go through a flow between 3 different movements where we're going to have a short pause at each position. So what this is going to look like is we're going to start off in our familiar tabletop position that we've obviously been in already. We're going to be here for a few seconds. We're then going to come up to a high plank. So from here, we're going to lock out the knees, bringing them off of the floor, getting a little bit of tension in the core, small squeeze in the glutes, and hold that for a few seconds. We're then going to bring the body all the way down to the floor, untucking the toes, bringing the elbows underneath the shoulders, and gently lifting the stomach and chest off the floor so we get a nice stretch into the lower back. But be careful with that one, you don't want to go too far. Always be mindful of protecting the lower back throughout. So we're literally going to move through those 3 different positions. We're going to hold for a few seconds at each point, and we're going to do that for 4 rounds in total. Okay, so if we get ready to begin our first one, so beginning in that tabletop position, hands underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips, and we'll begin our first one. So holding here for a few seconds, then coming up to that high plank. When you move into the cobra position, just make sure you drop down to your knees first. Changing the position of the arms, gently pushing up and getting that nice stretch into the lower back. And then coming back to that first position. So again, beginning with our tabletop, holding for a few seconds, progress into that high plank, and then coming down to the floor to our cobra to finish off. And coming to our third one, so tabletop, progress into high plank, and then dropping down to the floor for our cobra. And then last one for our final repetition. Back to all fours. Progress into that high plank. And then finally dropping down to the floor. Holding that cobra. 3, 2, and 1. Lovely stuff, guys. So a little bit more active and dynamic mobility in that one. But we're now going to move on to our third exercise, which is going to be called the world's greatest stretch. And this is one of my favorite exercises because you get a lot of work done just with one movement. A lot of really nice work in specifically the hip mobility, a little bit of upper back and the shoulder as well. So again, quick demo on what this looks like. We want to start all fours, hands and knees again, that familiar tabletop position. We're then going to bring our left leg just outside of our left arm so that you've got the inside of the knee parallel with the outside of the elbow. Okay, so hand should be pretty much parallel with the left foot. And then all we're going to do from here is with our left elbow, imagine that we're bringing it really closely down the inside of the left leg as close as we can to the floor. And then what we're going to do is we're going to open that chest and arm all the way towards the ceiling and then repeat. Okay, so the movement is elbow coming down to the floor as low as we can. That's where we're really going to get that nice hip stretch, a little bit of hamstring as well. And then as we begin to rotate up and open, we get a nice twist into the lower back and also opening the shoulder and the upper back as well. So we're going to do 5 repetitions on each side for this next one. So beginning, elbow close to the leg, all the way down to the floor, and then rotating up. And as always, we can get the breathing involved with this one as well. So as we rotate up, big breath in. And as we bring the elbow down, big breath out. 3 more. Last 2. One more. And swap inside. So bringing that left leg back can be quite nice to just give that left leg a little shake after that one. Obviously we've done quite a lot of work in that hip, and we'll swap sides, moving on to the right leg. So again, bring in right foot parallel with the right hand, elbow nicely tucked to the inside of the right leg, and again beginning with lowering that elbow towards the floor as low as we can, never forcing it, but getting a nice stretch in that right hip, and then rotating the arm up and open. And then again, beginning our 5 reps on this side, taking it nice and easy as we go through the rotation. Bringing the breathing in as always if we want to. So a big breath in. And then exhaling as we breathe down. 2 more. And last one. Lovely stuff, guys. Bringing that right leg back again. Options to shake it off a little bit, as again we've done some quite deep work into that hip. Now just for our final movement, or our final position, we're just going to hold a child's pose position, and we're going to do this for quite a long time, so it'll be for 60 seconds in total, but we're going to move a little bit between the sides when we do it. So just as a quick demo, what we're going to have is we're going to have knees quite wide. So if you do have an exercise mat, you probably want to bring the knees to the edge. We're going to bring the toes together, touching the toes, and then we're going to sit down on the heels, reaching out in front with the arms, actively reaching out, so we feel a nice stretch to the sides of the body here. And then we're just going to let the head hang in between. Okay, so that is literally just going to be our child's pose to finish off this section. So we're going to go for a 60-second count, and beginning in 3, 2, 1, and holding. So reaching out in front with those arms, sitting the heels back and letting the head hang in between. Option to rest the forehead all the way on the floor. It's a nice one to finish off this section, this just because we've done a little bit more intense work. This is quite a nice grounding one that can just allow us to focus on a little bit of breathing, as always, to keep us nice and relaxed. So we're going to keep the arms extended, but we're now going to walk the hands over to the right hand side, crossing the left hand on top of right. And with this, we're going to increase the stretch to the left side of the body. So hold in here for 20-second count. Always coming back to the breathing. And then moving over to the other side. So walking the hands over to the left, crossing the right hand on top of left. And then holding here for our final 20 seconds. Last 10. 3, 2, and 1. Okay guys, coming back to a seated position, as that brings us to the end of our second section. So take 20-30 seconds, grab yourselves a drink if you want to, and then we'll look to move on to our third part of today's session. Okay, guys, so for our third section, we're going to move on to a little bit more controlled mobility. We're going to do a lot more specific hip work. So the first exercise is going to be what's called a 90-90. And it's aptly named based on the angle of the legs and the knees. So you'll see what it will look like shortly. So we're going to come down to a seated position. And what we want is we want to have our left leg in this 90-degree position with the left knee sort of parallel with the outside of the vertical edge of the exercise mat, and then the shins sort of parallel with the horizontal edge. All right, so we've got that 90-degree position, ankles in line with knee in line with hips, 90-degree angle. We're then going to do exactly the same thing with the right leg, except it's going to be out to the side at a slightly different 90-degree angle. So we've got essentially both legs in this type of 90 position, and what we're getting is both internal and external hip rotation at the same time. So the left hip being externally rotated, the right hip being internally rotated. And we're literally just going to hold this for 30 seconds on each side, and literally just by sitting here we can begin to increase a little bit of mobility and flexibility within the hips. So if we begin with the left leg in this position, the right leg in this position, and we hold for 3, 2, 1, and 30 seconds begin. Now, if at any point this gets a little bit too much, a bit too intense on either of the hips, what we can do is we can just lean back and use our left arm as a little bit of a kickstand, and that will relieve some of maybe the intensity and the pressure that you might be experiencing. But if it does feel okay, just come to more of a seated upright position and continue to hold here. Hold in for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so a really nice way to change the position is to lean back on both hands, and then staying on the heels of each foot is rotate the knees over. So you've now got the exact same position on the other side. So this time, right leg's up at the top in that 90-90 position, left leg being out to the side in that other 90-degree position. And again, we're doing the same stretch, it's just we've changed one hip from internal to external rotation on each leg. So again, 30 seconds to hold on this side. Get ready in position. 3, 2, 1, and begin. So again, with a lot of these single side movements and holds, you might find that on one side it feels more relaxed or more comfortable than the other. Totally normal based on asymmetries that we have within the body. But again, you've got the option to ease off using that right arm as a kickstand. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And again, using those arms as a bit of a kickstand, I think it can be quite nice after that one to just lean back on both arms, staying on the heels of both feet, and just rotating the knees nicely over from one side and then to the other, as we've obviously just done quite a lot of work holding in that 90-90 position on both sides. So the next position we're going to move on to is a seated saddle stretch. So we want to bring the legs quite wide with this one. So I'd probably say each leg wants to be about a foot wider than hip width. Okay, so a little bend in the knees is fine, but you want to be feeling a little bit of a stretch into the inside of the legs or the adductors to begin with. And then from here, we're going to flex the toes back. We're going to reach our left arm towards the left foot. And at the same time, we're going to bring our right arm over as if it's kind of reaching over the outside of the head, again towards the foot. And we should be getting a nice dual stretch with this one. So we're going to get into the back of the legs and the hamstrings here, possibly a little bit into the calf on the left leg, but we're also going to get the right lower back getting a good stretch. So it's a nice sort of upper lower combination stretch. So we're literally going to hold for one side for 30 seconds, and then we're going to move on to the other side for 30 seconds. All right. So if we begin reaching towards the left and we hold for 3, 2, 1, bring that arm over and hold in that position there. Again, always coming back to the breathing at any point if we need to. Last 10 seconds, see if you can reach a little bit further with both arms. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, coming back to center and then doing exactly the same on the other side. So flexing the right toes back, reaching over the foot with the right hand, and then the left arm coming over the side of the head as we lean towards that right foot. So again, holding for 30 seconds here. Always coming back to the breathing at any point, just to relax things if it ever feels too tight. Last 10 seconds, so we can reach a little bit further. Hold in for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, relaxing out of that. Can be quite nice just to bring the knees in, give them a bit of a hug, as we've obviously had them quite wide for that last stretch. So we're going to move on to our final stretch just to finish off this section. So we're going to come to a lying position with the torso, and we're going to bring both arms out to the side. So this is a nice T-spine stretch, and we're just going to bring both knees over to the right hand side, and you should feel a nice stretch into the lower back on that left side. All right, now if you do want to increase it a little bit, what you can do is just apply a bit of pressure just on the outside of the right leg, and it should increase the stretch here to this left side of the lower back. But we're literally just going to hold this one for 30 seconds and then swap and do 30 seconds on the other side. So 30 seconds beginning from now. And again, always coming back to the breathing if you need to, just to relax into the stretches and the holds. Last 10 seconds. 3, 2, and 1. And then slowly keeping the feet on the floor, just rotating over to the other side, keeping those arms in that T position as we hold for 30 seconds here. Again, option to apply a bit of pressure by bringing the left hand on the outside of the right leg, just increasing that stretch into the right side of the lower back. So last 15 seconds here. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, guys, relaxing there, bringing yourself gently up to a seated position, and that brings us to the end of our third section. So we'll take another 20 to 30 seconds now just for a break. Feel free to get a little bit of water, and then we'll move on to our final section to close out the session. Okay guys, so moving on to our final section, we've literally got 3 stretches that we're going to work through, 2 of which are single sides, and then we've got a little bit of box breathing to finish off, okay? So to begin with, we're going to have a seated hamstring stretch. So all I'm going to get you to do is bring your left leg out straight, bring the right foot so it's in towards the inside of the left thigh, going to flex the toe back, and then we're just going to reach down towards the toes and hold, okay? And that's going to be our hamstring stretch on the left side. Once you've hit 30 seconds on that, we'll move straight on to the other side, okay? So beginning with our left leg, we hold in 3, 2, 1, reaching forwards and holding for our first 30-second count here. Always coming back to the breathing. If it ever gets too tight or a little bit too intense, last 10 seconds. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so easing off of the left side, swapping over to the right leg, exactly the same position. So right leg out straight, left foot in towards the inside of the right thigh, flexing the right foot back and reaching down to hold in 3, 2, 1, and holding for our next 30-second count. Last 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, relax in there. And we'll look to move on to our second stretch now. So this one is a seated hip opener. And I know we've already done a little bit on hips already, but this one is quite a relaxed one compared to the ones we've previously done. So all we're going to do, bring the soles of the feet together, pull the heels in towards the groin, grabbing onto the feet in front, interlocking the fingers, and just literally sitting here for 60-second count as we sort of let the legs slowly fall to the sides over that minute. So we'll get started in 3, 2, 1, and begin. So if the legs do feel quite tight at the beginning, the hips feel quite stiff, maybe they're up here, what you should find is over the course of just holding this stretch and letting the weight of the legs open those hips a bit more, it will begin to ease off over that 60 seconds. If you do want to increase this one, what you can do is you can pull the heels in a little bit more towards the groin. You can begin to bring your chest down towards the feet at the same time as gently pushing the elbows inside of the knees, and that's going to really open those hips a bit further. So last 20 seconds. Last 10. 3, 2, and 1. And relaxing there, taking the hands away, bringing the feet a little bit forwards. Can be quite nice to do the exact opposite after that. So bringing the knees in, giving them a little bit of a shake. As we move on to our final stretch, which is another single side one. And we're just going to finish off with a nice glute stretch. So what we want is our tabletop position to begin. We're going to bring our left knee behind our left wrist. We're going to bring our left foot about half a foot back from the right wrist, or as best as we can. And this may already begin to feel a little bit of a stretch in the left glute. If it does, totally cool to hold it here. But what we're going to aim to do is we're going to shuffle that right leg back a bit, and then we're going to lean down onto the forearms and really get into that glute stretch on that left side. So we're going to hold this for 30 seconds and then move on to the right for the same amount of time. So beginning our glute stretch in 3, 2, 1, and holding. This can be tight, quite a tight stretch for a lot of people. So really does help to focus on the breathing with this one. Last 10 seconds and then we'll swap sides. Three, two, and one. So coming back up onto the hands, shuffling that right leg forwards a bit, and then switching over, but just before you do, bring the left foot just onto the toe, give it a little bit of a shake, and then we'll look to swap over onto the right leg. So same thing, bringing our right knee behind our right hand, right foot a little bit back from the left, as we look to hold for 30 seconds on this side. So we'll begin in 3, 2, 1, and begin. So coming down onto those forearms and hold in this position. Almost done. Last 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So easing out of that one, shuffling the left leg forwards, bringing that right leg back. Option to give it a little bit of a shake on that side. And the hard work is almost done. So we'll be moving on to a small section of what's called box breathing just to finish off. So I'm just going to invite you to come to lying down on the floor and just extend everything out. So legs all the way out, arms all the way out. It can be quite nice just to turn the palms upwards to a nice relaxed sort of surrendering position. And the reason this is called box breathing is we use the same count for our breath through each of the phases. So it's literally a 4-second inhale, a 4-second hold, a 4-second exhale, and a 4-second hold. So if you imagine sort of that box as you're going through the breathing before that 4-second count, that's kind of the idea behind it. So we're literally just going to finish with this for 2 minutes, and then that'll be the session wrapped up. So we look to begin with our first breath in for 4 seconds. So I'm going to count it sort of in my head. It's just a bit difficult to count and breathe at the same time, but as long as you can count roughly to 4 seconds for each phase, you'll get the idea. So we begin with breathing in for 4, holding, exhaling for 4, holding, as we go on to our last in for 4. Hold for 4. And breathing out for 4. And holding for 4. And feel free to stay in that position if you want to stay in that state of sort of relaxation now that we've come to the end of the session. But that brings us to the end of today's class. So I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope you're feeling a little bit more mobile, a little bit more flexible, and hopefully more stretched and relaxed. So thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day and see you all next time.